This was a complex, but in my opinion, authentic exercise using open source bolts to implement some pretty cool functionality. I hope the process was useful, and I'll walk through my solution. I broke my approach up into three major stages: imports, or part one of the written instructions, linking to topology, which is also part one of the written instructions and incorporates a lot of the syntax hints, and finally filtering and emitting, which is part 2 through 5. You can skip ahead to solution sections that you had difficulties with, and let's begin with imports for my approach. In part 0 of the written instructions, we simply add our credentials to the tweet topology and rename to top-end tweet topology. So we navigate to Lesson 3, Stage 4, rename tweet topology to top-end tweet topology, and remember to change your class name to top-end tweet topology. In part 1, we remove the rolling count bolt and use the count bolt. And in code, we can simply comment out our rolling count, uncomment our count bolt, and remember to update the connection to count bolt instead of rolling count bolt. And once your visualization is working, you can move on to importing and connecting the total rankings bolt to the required dependencies. Once we're at this stage, we simply navigate to the total rankings bolt using the link. And this will begin the process of a fairly tedious cycle to copy, create, update import statements, build using Maven, which leads to more copying, creating, updating, and building. So let's get started. We first copy the total rankings bolt. We navigate to the Storm folder, not the tools, and create our file named totalrankingsbolt.java. We then look at the package structure and update. And our package structure again is udacity.storm because Udacity and Storm. We see that there's another dependency from Storm Starter Tools Rankings. And we update the import statement and plan to copy rankings into tools. We navigate to Storm Starter Tools and find rankings. We copy and paste the rankings.java file, create them in our tools folder, paste, and remember to update again. Now at this point, without looking too deeply at the code, we might be ready to build. I'll just walk through this to show the types of errors that come up and how you can use these errors to then repeat this entire cycle. We first Maven package, and we see a build failure. And the build failure is that rankable is not in our dependencies. And if we search for rankable in our rankings file, we see that we're creating a list of rankables. Therefore, rankable should be in our dependencies, and we'll go through the process again of copy, create, update using these build failures. We find rankable, copy, create, update, and finally try to build again. And now when we see the build failure, we see that there's an abstract ranker bolt that we're also missing. Navigating to the total rankings bolt, we see that total rankings extends an abstract ranker bolt. We could have discovered this dependency if we walked through the code more in detail, which you could have done, but this approach is simply using the Maven lifecycle and build cycle in order to discover our dependencies. We navigate to Storm Starter Bolt, and we find the abstract ranker bolt. Again, we copy, create in the Storm folder, not tools, and paste the abstract ranker bolt in the abstract ranker bolt file. We then update our package, and again check our dependencies and see that we have rankings and tuple helpers, which we already have as ranking and tuple helpers. But remember to update this import statement as well. And notice that I put tuple helpers not in util, but in tools. And after Maven package, we finally get our build success. So great job importing. Next, let's check our connections and notice that we haven't yet connected any of our components to our topology. Since our aim is to connect the total rankings bolt to our topology, let's navigate there now. And if you've seen in Hint 2 or simply read the documentation, or the comments really, we see that the intermediate rankings is necessary and we configure this bolt with a global grouping. Therefore, we'll need to import intermediate rankings. We navigate to Storm Starter Bolt and see intermediate rankings. We copy, create again in Storm and not Storm tools, create intermediate rankings bolt.java, update our package, and again look at the import statements. We see that we have rankable, but we don't have rankable object with fields. So let's first update our import statement. And once updated, let's go and get rankable object with fields. This is in Storm Starter Tools and rankable objects with fields. We complete our cycle again by copy, creating, and updating with rankable objects with fields.java, paste, and finally update the package structure and notice that we don't have any further dependencies. Finally, let's build and hope this works. Great, and now that we have a build success, We should be done with imports, and we can move on to linking to topology.